Emanphales in LOVE, in WODUO, cheers ladies. Let me let you in on something most people don't talk about enough. Men don't fall in love just because of how beautiful you are. They don't fall in love because you're always available or because you said yes to everything. They fall in love when they feel something different around you. Something rare. So what is it that makes a man truly fall? It's when you create a feeling that he doesn't get anywhere else. And the truth is, it's not about playing games. It's about emotional depth, self-worth, and the kind of energy that says, I'm not here just to impress you. I'm here to see if you are worth my time too. Let's be real. Anyone can chase. Anyone can flirt. But when a man starts to see a woman who carries herself with confidence, who isn't afraid to speak her truth, who brings both warmth and standards, that's when he starts thinking, this is different. I don't want to lose this. When it comes to attraction, one of the most magnetic qualities a woman can have is confidence. Not the loud, showy kind, but the quiet, unshakable kind that comes from knowing her worth. Confidence over approval means you're not living for someone else's validation. You're not waiting for a text to feel good about yourself. You're not altering your tone, your opinions, or your standards just to be liked. And that energy, it's powerful. It shifts the dynamic entirely because it tells a man, I want you, but I don't need you to feel valuable. When a woman walks into a room with the kind of confidence that says, I belong here, she becomes unforgettable. Not because she's trying to be noticed, but because her self-assurance doesn't require notice. She's centered in who she is. That makes her presence feel effortless and real. And in a world full of people trying to impress, that authenticity stands out. Men sense it instantly. There's something different about a woman who doesn't try too hard, who can smile, joke, and even flirt, but never crosses the line of losing herself in the process. The truth is, when you seek approval, especially in the early stages of dating, you give your power away. You become reactive. You wait on texts, second-guess your messages, overanalyze every interaction. But when you choose confidence over approval, you flip the script. You're not auditioning for someone to pick you. You're choosing whether you want to invest your time, energy, and emotion. That shift is magnetic because men aren't drawn to women who chase them. They're drawn to women who know they don't have to. This doesn't mean being cold, distant, or arrogant. It means being grounded. You can still be warm, kind, and open. You can express interest and excitement. But the difference is your sense of self doesn't rise or fall based on how someone else responds to you. And that's where your real power lies. It allows you to show up honestly, to speak your truth, and to walk away if something doesn't feel right, or without drama or resentment. That kind of energy makes a man feel like he's dealing with someone rare. Men are used to being pursued, flattered, and validated. What they're not used to is being with a woman who's emotionally secure enough to appreciate them without putting them on a pedestal. When he sees that you're not chasing, not competing, not needing him to feel good about yourself, he starts to lean in. Because suddenly he's not just enjoying your attention, he's wondering how he can earn yours. He starts respecting your space, valuing your time, and realizing that being with you is a privilege, not a guarantee. In the end, confidence over approval is about recognizing that your worth isn't measured by how someone else feels about you. It's measured by how you feel about yourself. And when you lead from that space, love stops being a performance and starts being a choice, one that he hopes you'll make too. A man may be initially attracted to the way you look, the way you carry yourself, or the chemistry between you, but what makes him truly fall in love is something much deeper: emotional connection. It's that moment when he feels like you see him, not just the version of him he presents to the world, but the parts he doesn't always show, the ones he hides behind jokes, ambition, or charm. When a man feels emotionally safe, understood, and accepted, that's when he starts to bond in a real way. That's when he starts thinking, this isn't just someone I enjoy, this is someone I don't want to lose. Emotional connection is built in the small, honest moments when you ask questions that go beyond surface level, when you genuinely want to understand what drives him, what scares him, what makes him light up. When you listen not to respond, but to feel with him. Men often grow up in a world that teaches them to suppress emotion, to to be strong, to stay composed. But when a woman creates space where he can drop the armor without judgment, that's powerful. He begins to associate that space, that you, with peace and emotional freedom. It doesn't mean fixing his problems. It doesn't mean becoming his therapist. It means holding space for realness, being present, not needing to fill every silence, letting him open up in his own time without pressure. When a man feels like he can show you both the strong and the vulnerable sides of himself, he starts to experience love as more than just attraction. He starts to feel safe with you. And emotional safety is one of the deepest forms of intimacy. But emotional connection isn't just about how you receive his world. It's also about how openly you share yours. A vulnerability invites vulnerability. When you share your values, your fears, your dreams, not from a place of performance, but from a place of truth, you create emotional resonance. It tells him that you're not playing a role, you're being real. And in that realness, he finds something he can trust. So many relationships fail not because the attraction isn't there, but because the emotional depth never developed. They stay on the surface. Fun, flirty, maybe even passionate, but hollow. Real love grows in the moments where both people feel seen. When a man feels like you connect with who he is underneath it all, not just what he does or how he looks, he begins to emotionally invest. He starts to think long term, because now it's not just about how you make him feel. It's about who he gets to be when he's with you. In a world full of filters, expectations, and highlight reels, emotional connection is rare. That's why it's so valuable. When a man meets a woman who creates a space for truth, depth, and real conversation, he feels something he doesn't want to go of. He feels home. And that's the feeling that makes him fall. The most compelling kind of woman is the one who knows how to balance kindness with boundaries. She leads with warmth, but she doesn't bend her values for anyone. This balance is what creates lasting attraction. It's easy to be nice. It's easy to be agreeable, especially in the early stages of getting to know someone. But if that kindness comes at the cost of your standards, if you're constantly saying yes just to avoid conflict or keep someone interested, it doesn't build respect. And respect is the foundation of real desire. When a woman has high standards, she's not being difficult or demanding. She's showing that she values herself and her time. She's not going to accept behavior that doesn't align with what she's looking for. But what makes her magnetic is how she communicates those standards. It's not with attitude or ultimatums. It's with grace. She sets the tone without raising her voice. She makes it clear what she will and won't tolerate without making a man feel like he's being punished. That emotional intelligence is incredibly attractive. On the other side, her warmth makes people feel good in her presence. She listens. She laughs. She brings lightness to conversations and makes others feel appreciated. But none of that comes from a place of needing to be liked. It comes from being secure in who she is. She's not kind for approval. She's kind because it reflects her values. That difference matters. It's not performative. It's real. And when you pair that real kindness with unapologetic self-respect, people notice. Men notice. This kind of woman doesn't chase. She doesn't try to convince anyone to choose her. She simply shows up as herself and lets the right people meet her where she already stands. And that energy creates a challenge, not a game-playing way, but in a way that invites a man to rise to her level, to show up with clarity, to be intentional, because he sees that access to her isn't automatic. It's earned through consistency and care. What's powerful about this dynamic is that it draws in men who are emotionally mature. The kind of man who wants to build something real doesn't want someone who says yes to everything. He wants someone who calls him out when he's slipping, someone who pushes him to be better without shaming or controlling him. That's what high standards with warmth do. They inspire growth, not resistance. They bring out the best in someone while still making them feel deeply cared for. At the core of all this is self-awareness, a knowing your worth and refusing to trade it for short-term validation. When you embody both compassion and strength, you create an emotional environment that feels both safe and exciting. A man feels like he's with someone who's emotionally generous, but not nor-v. Loving, but not desperate. And that balance doesn't just attract a man, it keeps him captivated because he knows that being with you is something meaningful and it's something he has to continuously show up for. There's something undeniably attractive about a woman who lives a full, vibrant life. When a man sees that your happiness isn't dependent on him, When he realizes that you already have purpose, joy, and fulfillment on your own, he starts to view you as more than a potential partner. He sees you as a woman of substance, someone who brings more to the table rather than someone looking to be completed. And that energy, that independence, it creates curiosity. It sparks admiration. It makes him want to be a part of your world, not become your whole world. Too often, people enter relationships from a place of emptiness, hoping that the other person will fill the gaps. But real connection doesn't grow from dependency, it grows from overflow. When you're already full, already passionate about your goals, your friendships, your hobbies, your growth, that's when you become magnetic. Because now you're not reaching out for love to get something. You're sharing your life with someone because you want to, not because you need to rescue from boredom or loneliness. Men fall in love with women who have their own rhythm, their own thing going on. When you light up talking about your passions, whether that's your career, your art, your fitness journey, your travels, or even the way you spend your Sunday mornings, it shows him that your happiness doesn't rely on him showing up. You're already fulfilled. And because of that, your love comes from a place of strength. It's not clingy. It's not controlling. It's not anxious. It's free. This doesn't mean you push people away or act like you don't care. It means you've built a life so meaningful on your own that any relationship you enter becomes an enhancement, not a lifeline. That's incredibly attractive to a high-value man. He's not looking for someone to save. He's looking for someone to share with, someone who inspires him, someone who makes him think. She challenges me to be more alive. Just being around her makes me want to level up. And here's the truth, when you're in love with your own life, you're less likely to tolerate relationships that drain you. You stop settling for crumbs. You don't overinvest in someone who's inconsistent because you already have a world you love. That kind of self-trust keeps your standards in place without needing to constantly enforce them. A man feels that. He senses that your time and energy are precious, and if he wants place in your life, he has to earn it. Not with grand gestures, but with consistency and presence. In the end, a woman who is already fulfilled is irresistible because she doesn't just want love, she chooses it. And that choice, when it comes from freedom rather than fear, makes a man fall hard because he knows that if you let him in, it's not because you need him to complete you. It's because you see something in him that matches the beauty you've already created in your own life. One of the most powerful things a woman can do to make a man fall in love is to believe in his potential, not in a fantasy version of who he could be someday, but in the real version of him that he's capable of becoming. When a man feels seen not just for who he is now, but for everything he can grow into, that belief lights something up inside him. It makes him want to rise. It makes him want to become better, not because he's being pressured or judged, but because he's inspired. Inspired by how you see him. Inspired by how you treat him. Inspired by the way you bring out the best in him without ever needing to fix or control him. Belief, when it's genuine, is incredibly rare. Most people only reflect what they see in front of them. But when someone reflects your possibility, it changes everything. For a man, knowing that a woman sees his deeper qualities, his drive, his heart, his intentions, can be the very thing that pushes him to grow into them more fully. It's not about inflating his ego. It's about nurturing his spirit. When you say things like, "I know you've got this," "I love the way you think," or "You're capable of so much more than you give yourself credit for," you're planting seeds of confidence. And when that belief is paired with emotional consistency, you become a grounding force in his life. Something rare, something he doesn't want to lose. But here's what makes this even more impactful. You believe in him without losing sight of yourself. You hold space for his dreams, but you don't abandon yours. You encourage him, but you're not responsible for doing the work for him. That balance is everything. It tells him that you're in his corner, but you're not carrying him. That distinction creates respect, and respect is the emotional glue that deepens love over time. What's important to understand is that real belief doesn't mean blind support. It means telling the truth with love. It means being able to say, "I know you can do better," when he's slipping, not to criticize, but because you know his strength. That kind of accountability wrapped in compassion is what creates transformation. And when a man transforms, grows, and evolves in your presence, he associates that growth with you. He sees you as someone who doesn't just make him feel good, but someone who makes him better. This emotional connection builds over time, and it's built through your consistency, through showing up when it matters, through staying true to what you see in him, even when he temporarily forgets it himself. When you have that kind of influence, not by force, but by belief, you become unforgettable. A man doesn't forget the woman who stood beside him not for what he had, but for who he was trying to become. That belief creates loyalty. It creates love that lasts, and it becomes the reason he falls deeply and completely. So, if you want to know what truly makes a man fall in love, it's not about being perfect. It's not about saying all the right things or playing games. It's about showing up as the most whole, alive, and self-aware version of yourself. When you lead with confidence, a balanced kindness with standards, live a life that inspires you, and hold space for a man's growth while staying rooted in your own, you don't just attract love. You create something lasting, something real. Because the kind of love that sticks, the kind of love that deepens over time, is built on mutual respect, emotional maturity, and shared growth. It's not about needing someone. It's about choosing them and being chosen in return every single day. So to every woman listening, don't dim your light to be loved. Let it shine so brightly that the right man sees you clearly and feels honored to stand beside you. Fall in love with your own life first and trust that the right person will be drawn to that energy, not because he needs to complete you, but because he wants to add to the beauty that's already there. Thank you so much for giving me your time, your energy, and your heart today. I hope these words remind you of the power you already carry and the love you are absolutely worthy of. Take care of yourself, stay true to who you are, and remember, love doesn't have to be chased. The right love will meet you where you already stand. Thank you, and goodbye for now.